Good day. We are here to present and discuss our research proposal entitled Online Learning and Motivation of BS Ed English Sophomores of Mindoro State University, Calapan City Campus, Basis for Intervention Program. For the introduction, the educational system and the level of motivation of students of all countries had been affected by the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. It had a big impact on them, causing the typical classroom setup to be drastically transformed into online, blended, flexible, homeschooling, modular, asynchronous, synchronous, and technology-assisted learning. And as the number of positive COVID-19 cases in the Philippines continues to rise, the government, through the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education of the Philippines, had implemented a number of policies to encourage the use of alternative modalities in delivering education content to higher education institutions. COVID-19 has forced educators and educational institutions to transform and equip their classrooms that will support online and distance learning, also known as new normal teaching. During the coronavirus outbreak, motivation for online learning was reported to had mixed results in higher education, particularly in Indonesian universities. Some students were unmotivated to learn as a result of online learning, while others were extremely motivated. In the Philippines, unstable and poor connection, gadgets, as well as learning are some factors that can affect the motivation of the students as they studying through online. In light of these current situations, the researchers decided to determine the level of manifestation towards online learning and the level of motivation among the BS Ed English sophomore students of Mindoro State University, Calapan City Campus, and to perceive its positive connection to online learning. It is evident that the sophomore students from Mindoro State University have a lot of activities in their subjects in online learning and needed to balance their level of motivation. The new normal educational system in this curriculum are usually observed and experienced among the sophomore students of Mindoro State University Calapan City Campus, specifically to their level of motivation. A lot of them are struggling to cope up and comply with this new normal in order to achieve their dreams and goals in life. Due to this situation, the researchers assume that they have low level of motivation toward online learning. It is possible because there are several factors that could affect it. Therefore, in order to help them and boost their motivation, the researchers provided intervention programs like webinars and training. It is beneficial to enlighten them and pursue their education through online learning. It will serve as output of the researchers to make the research effective. Statement of the problem. This study aims to ascertain the level of manifestation towards online learning and the level of motivation of BS Ed English sophomores of Minsu Calapan City Campus. Specifically, it aims to answer the following questions. 1. What is the level of manifestation of BS Ed English sophomores towards online learning in terms of technological devices, connectivity, and instruction? 2. What is the level of motivation of the respondents in terms of intrinsic motivation, such as emotions, satisfactions, and self-efficacy, and extrinsic motivations, such as teacher factor and learning environment? 3. Is there any significant relationship between the level of manifestation towards online learning and the level of motivation of the respondents? 4. What intervention program may be proposed in the study? Statement of hypothesis. There is no significant relationship between the level of manifestation towards online learning and the level of motivation of BS Ed English sophomores of Minso Calapan City Campus.
For theoretical framework, this study is anchored on the theories which are deemed relevant to the level of manifestation towards online learning and the level of motivation of BSED English sophomores of Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus. First, in the Theory of Ryan and Deci 2017, entitled Self-Determination Theory (SDT), emphasizes researchers and practitioners comprehend and enhance not only student motivation but also the engagement that results from that motivation. Thus, this theory favors the level of manifestation of students towards online learning and their level of motivations, since this idea claims that when students' demand for competence, connection, and autonomy are met, they can become more self-determined. This is significant since the prior study in face-to-face setting revealed that the highest level of more self-determined motivation, such as identified regulation, can protect against the more negative impacts of external limitation. The theory supports the present study in the sense that it is relevant to the level of manifestation of BSED English sophomores towards online learning and the level of motivation by making recommendations to teachers on how to incorporate, nurture, and revitalize these resources throughout the flow of instruction to foster high-quality student engagement, especially in online learning and the level of motivation. Second is distance learning theory. DLT emphasizes that as technology evolves, it enables increased interaction in online contexts, and distance learning demands require students to learn independently or at a faster pace of acquiring knowledge has been considered. Therefore, to meet the demand for increased interaction in distance learning mode, the concept of control of Garrison and Byington 1987 or collaborative control of Y 2003 has been noticed. In their study, collaborative control is defined as the interaction between learners and their knowledge facilitators. It is relevant to independence, competence, and support of Anderson and Garrison 1998 and Y 2003. Similarly, autonomy is the student's ability to make decisions about what, when, where, and how students learn the capability, including the abilities to become a fruitful learner, such as inspiration, confidence, processes, and backing comprises of assets that empower the content authority and course consummation such as supplemental materials, mentoring, and specialist assistance. As students respond to this course with their educators and companions and gain confidence about the structure that the lesson plans offer will increase their ability for independence. This theory will be relevant on this study in a way that it provides an understanding of interaction between the learner and the teacher in an online context, as this theory specifies the distance learning which also targets or relates to the variable of this study. Also, distance learning theory will enable researchers to understand the process of learning of the study who are undertaking modality that is specified in this learning. Lastly, the self-efficacy theory by Gallagher 2012 postulates students' observation of their abilities as determinants of successful outcomes. Self-efficacy is a crucial internal motivational process influenced by personal and environmental variables and determines motivational outcomes such as decisions, effort, persistence, and achievement. The theory focuses on how individuals and groups might give a sense of agency that would help them achieve their goals. And significant because the self-efficacy hypothesis does not assume that those who are not successful are necessarily superior to those who are not. Then the implementation of self-efficacy theory to a kind of circumstances shows that definite changes to the original one are required. This theory relates to the current study as it emphasizes the level of manifestation of students towards online learning and prominent psychological variables that can alter the level of motivation that influences academic success in online learning. We presume that the intervention program developed by the researchers resolves the level of manifestation of students towards online learning and the level of motivation will result to success. Based on the theoretical framework, the conceptual framework of this study is shown below. The first box contains the independent variable, which is the level of manifestation towards online learning of BSED English sophomores of Minsu Calapan City campus when it comes to technological devices, connectivity, and instructions. The second box contains the dependent variable, which is the motivation of BSED English sophomores of Minsu Calapan City campus. In motivation, there are two kinds, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. In intrinsic motivation, there are emotion, satisfaction, and self-efficacy. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation has teacher factors and a learning environment. And the third box contains the proposed intervention program that may help to inspire the best at English sophomore of Minsu to achieve the higher motivation while they are utilizing the online learning as modality.
Based on our observation, even we are facing online learning difficulties due to the continuous occurrence of the COVID-19, there are still lots of opportunities offered, especially for us students. Our manifestations help to clarify how online works as a new platform and medium of education. And as part of a successful integration of online classes, there is still a need to determine the level of motivation in continuing education despite the burden we have. We can still have the chance to continue studying. Students can still have the motivation to pursue their passion and have the big opportunity and chance to acquire the new learnings and experiences through online learning. And with the proper support and encouragement given by both parents and teachers, students' mindset will remain and they will be more motivated in participating and engaging themselves in online discussion. However, we cannot deny the fact that not all students have the same perception or manifestation in the study to have the same way of thinking that resulted in a negative outcome. According to some studies, particular on Afzal, Ali, Aslam, Khan, and Hamid's 2010, because of sudden changes brought by this pandemic, some of the students have low intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Students are demotivated because of the different factors such as the financial problem, lack of gadgets, poor connection, and the likes. Moreover, both local and foreign studies give us as a readers and as a researchers the idea and the background knowledge about the possible way on how to maintain and enhance the motivation of the students. Teachers should provide and use technological and instructional tools that can help to satisfy the requirements and aspiration of any types of learners. Furthermore, Rotas and Kahapay 2020 stated in their investigation that the perception of distance learning among university students in the Philippines is due to the COVID-19 crisis. In this study, the results of the content analysis revealed the following types of difficulties in online learning. These studies that have mentioned above are related to each other and serve as the basis that the level of motivation of the students towards the online learning in the midst of pandemic is affected. Due to the several factors, their motivation and determination through online learning are not quite stable. As a result of all discussed foreign literatures and studies, the researchers are provided with solid references to deeply associate with the engagement of the BSed English sophomore of Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus. These notes, studies, and literature can be used to characterize the level of motivation of the students towards online learning. Similar to this, the literature and studies can assist students to motivate more despite of challenges in online learning. These findings provide sufficient support for the researchers' conclusion and the online learning of the BSed English sophomore of Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus has a significant relationship with the level of motivation in terms of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. This is regarded as being directly related to the variables under investigation, with the results supporting the researchers' discussion of manifestation towards the online learning and the level of motivation of the BSed English sophomore student at Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus. For our research methodology, this includes the research design, respondents of the study, the research instrument together with its validity and reliability, the data gathering procedure, the scaling and quantification, and the statistical treatment of data used for determining the level of manifestations toward online learning and the level of motivation of the BS Ed English sophomores of the Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus. For our design, we will utilize the descriptive correlational method to draw the features of the gathered data. With the use of this design and the aid of questionnaires, the researchers will identify the level of manifestation towards online learning and the level of motivation of the BSED English sophomore as our respondents and will be conducted on Minsu Calapan City campus. Using the Rausoff calculator, we determine the sample population that will provide data that is relevant to the study. Researchers select 82 students or respondents from the population of 103 students. Self-made questionnaire is the instrument that the researchers will use to gather data from the respondents and will be administered via Google Form. It is composed of related questions for each indicator. Primarily, it will focus on the respondents' level of manifestation towards the online learning in terms of technological devices, connectivity, and instruction, and on the respondents' level of motivation in terms of intrinsic motivation, such as the emotion, satisfaction, and self-efficacy, and in terms of extrinsic motivation such as teacher factor and the learning environment. Those part of the survey will use 4-point Likert scale in which there will be choices such as 4 as strongly agree, 3 as agree, 2 as disagree, and 1 as strongly disagree. Further, the researchers will interpret and calculate the data gathered. In order to know the efficacy of the instrument, we need to establish and undergo in a validation process through consultation with the experts such as our research advisor and the statistician. These experts will go through the research questions and statement carefully to ascertain the appropriateness and adequacy of our proposed instrument. Their suggestions, comments, and correction will able to help us researchers in polishing the questionnaires. In addition, the researchers will also able to understand the ambiguity of items included in questions and will modify it to the level of questionnaires. The researchers will also utilize Cronbach alpha to measure the reliability of the research instrument used in this study, which is under the internal consistency reliability. Through this, it will determine the reliability and internal consistency of the Likert scale questionnaire. The survey will be administered entirely online through a Google form. Respondents will access the questionnaire by entering the internet or the link address provided by the researchers. Upon reading the informed consent of the document, participants will indicate their full name as their consent to participate before clicking the Start button. Upon reaching the bottom of the last part of the questionnaire, the respondents will see the option of clicking on the Submit button to complete the survey. Upon successful of completion of the questionnaire, the respondents will receive a message confirming their completion and thanking them for their participation. And for the statistical treatment of data, we are going to utilize the weighted mean and the CHITAS formula. These two formulas will able to compute as a measure of central tendency and the relationship between online learning and motivation of the BSED English sophomores of Mindoro State University, Calapan City campus.